Okay.
All right, 7 o'clock, call the meeting to order. Please signed in. Need a motion to approve minutes from the last meeting.
Move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion to approve, second by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unfinished business, or is it any? Go to new business, update on the ordinance, the American Legal Publishing. I guess according to Earl, it's never been officially published.
Yep.
I can help you with
I'll
that.
go ahead, I'll say Elroy updated me.
American Legal, when I sent the ordinances, they missed that one. So I contacted them earlier this year. So they did get it, it is codified online. The printed supplement, I think Elroy's the only one that uses printed supplement anyway. But, that'll be coming later, but it is updated online. And it has been
Okay.
since.
Okay, so we talked about the new zoning ordinance update.
This is this is some
Something else.
previously approved ordinances that were never updated online or in the, online ordinances, I guess.
The one reason the printed version is, you have a printed version and an online version. In part is due to the fact that the online version was never approved by the planning. Never a public hearing on it. So I've always cited both of them whenever I do any legal things, because the only legal version is printed version.
But we had passed it as a plan commission.
Well,
And the rest of the city, we motion, push it.
The
City
council
council.
passed the ordinance.
Yeah.
The council passed the ordinance. Oh, wait, did you redo it? Because the council passed thought they passed the zoning ordinance when they recodified. And
This
had all
is-
the ordinances published online.
No, this is not going way back, this is just going to last year.
Okay, well, I'm talking about way back, it's never done.
That- we did pass an ordinance to approve the codification. at
Right,
some point.
but you didn't bring it before the plan commission. The part that was the zoning part had to be brought before the plan commission because it was a change.
I don't know, that's before my time. so.
Yes, it's almost before mine, but,
Oh, gosh.
and it's not a major problem, it's probably because the ordinance exists and they're essentially the same. But at some point, we need to get them so that they're the same. If we're going by the online, that's the way, it's not the way I'm doing it now. Whenever there's.
There will be a printed version, it's just it has not been printed yet. We generally only do our printed supplement once a year.
Okay. Well, we
So
know that.
if it's something, if you're gonna pass another new zoning ordinance, anyway, is that what Elroy keeps telling me, you're gonna do something?
Yeah, there's some updates to the ordinance that's he's talking about that was recent, that will be updating the current
That you'll
ordinance
be
as
giving to
well.
the council.
Yeah, so
Right.
we'll have to do a hearing and then send it to the council.
And then you
And then
can, we
now-
can just do all that at the same time.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah,
We'll do that.
so I guess that brings us to the next new business update. Proposed changes to the ordinance.
Okay, Elroy sent me, I think the city clerk is also aware of this, some questions regarding some of the ordinances that we talked about in the past. He wanted me to suggest some ordinances regarding that, stop fencing. And, so he wanted a definition for an overlay district. Now, at the moment, we don't have any overlay districts. We use them frequently in Norfolk County for things like solar, wind turbines, but it can be used for all kinds of things like a historical district. Without passing a historical district, you can have an overlay for an area you want to consider. And so he wanted a definition for that. Hopefully the definition will clear it up. An overlay district is defined as a specific geographical area that applies additional regulations or modifications of regulations to all base zoning parcels. So let's do something I'm more familiar with, say it's solar. And you just want to regulate solar throughout the city, But the city has a number of zoning areas like commercial and residential. Well, rather than amending all those things, you put an overlay district and say, solar is allowed under the following conditions. You still also have to comply with the underlying conditions, but it'll be different for a residential area or commercial areas, so things like setbacks and so forth, unless the solar overlay modifies that. So, and I don't know why we wanted this definition, but it's a common zoning practice in more municipal areas.
In what I was thinking more in a relevant terms, like if you wanted to designate a historical district as an overlay district, and then you would have
Yeah,
regulations for whether it be
right.
residential or
whatever those would
commercial
be.
within that overland historical
Right.
district.
Or we had things where we wanted to handle apartments downtown differently than your typical R2 areas, R3 areas. And that could have been done as, if there was such a thing at the time, as an overlay district, it's done it that way. It comes with, or another suggestion online was environmental district. You had something where you had, let's say, flooding problems, or there's a highway corridor where you want to regulate the density of residences next to the highway. If you just you create a whole corridor, don't worry about what the zoning is. But they would have to comply both with their basic zoning and the corridor. Those are all examples. Historical, we probably want most likely to come up here rather than solar.
Yeah,
But you gotta keep in mind, we regulate the 2 mile area as well. Solar could come up there. And you could have an overlying district that, say, took in our industrial park, right, and adjoining 2 mile area. Lots of different ways it can be used. Mr. Mass thought that an overlay district definition would be useful, because that's all we're doing here. We're just putting in the definition section. We're not creating any overlay districts. And as long as we're doing other changes, we can do that. Like in the other ordinance, if you accept the ordinance and you don't with any modifications, it has to be published and it has to have a public hearing before you can have it considered by the city council. Then on the manufactured housing area, he was suggesting that we have a 5-year limit on taking old mobile homes, actually more old manufactured housing. And the only problem I can see with that is there is an Indiana statute that says you can't treat manufactured housing that's essentially the same as a house differently than a regular house. Well, I could see somebody in this area in particular wanting to save an old house, historic nature, but for some reason it has to be, they're putting in a highway or whatever, it has to be moved. Well, now you're moving a house that's more than 5 years old onto another property. Now you're not treating your manufactured housing the same way as you treat your regular house.
under that ordinance, manufactured homes, and he's got double wide and single. I think we were trying to focus more on mobile homes or, that type of thing, not
I think it's
necessarily
already been moved into place versus
Yeah.
step built.
versus
Right.
an actual stick-built home.
Right. And I used the terminology manufactured home, that's adopting the definition that we have for manufactured home, not anybody else's, that we have in our ordinance. Which does include type 1. Now, we could just do it manufactured homes under type 2, type 3. I think I may have a backwards, but, mobile homes, double wides, right, I would have to modify.
Yeah, I think that was the intent. We didn't want somebody bringing in a 30-year-old mobile home.
Yeah. We have that problem in the county quite a bit.
Yeah,
And although some people's 30-year-old homes are better, some people's 10-year-old.
well,
But that is a problem. It's just good, nobody's ever raised it in a lawsuit yet. So, it's my job to look for potential problems, to yours to evaluate how much of a hazard it is. And then the last one is probably one people are most interested in, is the fencing ordinance. What I did was take the suggestions, the email that I received, and I changed the language slightly. It's the major difference, so I think we'd already discussed this, what we wanted to add in an ordinance.
Yeah,
So we don't want a fence on an easement. Now, an easement, to use that terminology, you're gonna include not only, area for ingress and egress, you're talking about utility easements, any kind. And so it says basically you can't have a fence crossing a telephone line, for example, that's buried in the ground. Prohibit that if the telephone lines that are illegal. Even though the two don't interfere, suppose somebody in that situation comes up, could ask for a variance, so yeah. But that's what they would have to do. No fence within 5 feet of an alley, only permitted materials. About the only problem with that at all is if different materials come up in the future, you might have a category that you may not want to include. You could improve that by putting some kind of discretion to the zoning administrator to do similar materials, then you get into too much discretion. Usually the best way to handle that is if the issue starts coming up, you make a change to the ordinance, that's why we have amendment procedures. Again, that's up to you. All fences shall be maintained and kept in good condition. That's open to a lot of interpretation as to what that means. On the other hand, it's awful hard to write on, that's very specific. What I did do was add paragraph 5, which tries to identify what the major purpose of these fence regulations are. Because all fences shall serve a practical purpose, so it's got to be there for a reason. Now, I think that includes decorative as well as security fence. Be neighborhood friendly and be constructed to be aesthetically pleasing on the outward side of the fence. Now, what does that mean? You like green fences, I like brown fences. You know, how do you determine that? So a neighborhood friendly fence is one that enhances the neighborhood's appearance while providing security and privacy and blends well with surrounding landscapes and homes. So the idea is essentially, you look at the neighborhood and look what kind of fencing it has. Because some fencing is more disruptive in certain areas than it is in others. That's basically what the idea was. And you don't have to dump anything today, you just had a chance to look at it. Right? Do you
we
want to?
have additional copies of that.
I
I have a copy of the email, it's kind of in the body of the
I
email.
did right here.
Okay.
Give everybody a
Oh.
copy.
We just didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. Well, then you have no idea what I was talking about. Okay. You have your copy.
Yeah.
That was clear as mud when I had that read.
Well, I was filling in, because I printed it off.
All right,
Well, you can compare it with what
Yeah.
Mr. Masters suggested.
that's something to look forward to next year.
Sure.
Yeah. That's it. That's clear.
And you put it on the agenda.
Yeah, we'll discuss it. At some point, we'll need to have a hearing to adopt it, and that's cool.
Put out the paper for it. Yeah. All the big stuff. All right. So other business I have listed, unless there's somebody has anything, any comments from anybody?
I've noticed there's 2 or 3 properties that I've seen that are accumulating automobiles fairly quickly, I guess, I don't know, first 1 or 2. But plenty, though. They're definitely off the road, back in the yard, kind of being hidden. And I don't know what we can do about it, but it was come and go. I said, one of them, so I don't know.
If you get the list of the properties to, the code enforcement officer,
Well, I got
you can at least check them out and see where they're at, and that's what they've been doing.
Start there.
Some of them they're aware of and have been talked to.
I seen one the other day, actually, handed the owner his thing and you have parked there since, so, yeah.
Anything else? Well, it's all for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion to adjourn, got a second, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Barb.